Okay, so this is what killed the trilogy. Enter Spider-Man 3, played by Tobey Maguire and directed by Sam Raimi, where for the first two movies they had these massive successes financially and critically, but then for the third one, even though it was a hit critically, it just didn't get good reviews and actually killed the franchise where they didn't make a fourth one. He got replaced by Andrew Garfield, but the real question is, what ruined it? Spider-Man was in development hell for years, where in 1990, James Cameron signed a deal to make an R-rated Spider-Man movie with Leonardo DiCaprio that never ended up happening. There was also a period in the 90s where Michael Jackson tried to buy the rights of Spider-Man and bail Marvel out, which Stan Lee encouraged, and he wanted to play Spider-Man at the same time. But then finally in 1998, Stan Lee and Marvel signed a deal with Sony where Sony agreed to pay $10 million for the movie rights to Spider-Man, which just to show how much of a deal they got, it's estimated that would be worth about $10 billion today. Sony had a lot of different directions in mind for how they wanted to do a Spider-Man movie, where originally they asked Tim Burton to do it because he directed the Batman movies, but he said no because he didn't want to be linked as a comic book movie director. And Sony asked Chris Columbus, the director for Home Alone, but he turned it down because the day before, Warner Brothers offered him the chance to direct Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And they ended up asking Sam Raimi because they were impressed he did the Evil Dead movies and thought he could work with practical effects as well as CGI. And they cast Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man because Leonardo DiCaprio, who was previously going to do it, said no because he didn't want to do comic book movies, but he did recommend Tobey Maguire because they were childhood friends. That was the team, and yeah, they definitely had a huge hit, where the first one made $827 million, and then the second one made $796 million for two huge hits that also got good reviews. But because Spider-Man 2 made slightly less money than the first movie, Sony was afraid of Sam Raimi's vision, so they wanted to intervene more for Spider-Man 3, and Sam Raimi originally wanted the character of Vulture to be the main villain in Spider-Man 3, and also cast either Ben Kingsley or John Malkovich for it, but Sony told him no. Instead, Sony put a mandate that the character of Sandman be put in because at the time, CGI was getting better and better, so they wanted a character that could emphasize that more than Vulture could. Sam Raimi was actually okay with that idea at first because he liked the idea of Spider-Man 3 being this redemption story where you could make Sandman this sympathetic villain and also at the same time have James Franco go from being a villain to a friend of Peter Parker, so the benefit in that story would be it's a whole thing about redemption. And Sony kept on intervening where they wanted the story to Sandman change, where they wanted him to be the one that killed Uncle Ben in the first movie, which was a retcon, and Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire were both really opposed to it, but they had to do it because of Sony. The idea was proposed by Sony midway through production and wasn't actually in the original cut, so for the first fight scene of the movie, they didn't actually plan that for part of the story, and they had to redub Spider-Man's lines to make it seem like that. Right before production began, Sony had another huge mandate, and that's that they said they wanted the character of Venom in it, and that's because Venom was selling toys like crazy, so they wanted that character to be there. The problem was Venom came out in the 1980s, and when Sam Raimi was a kid, he was reading the Spider-Man comics in the 60s and 70s, so he didn't even know who the character of Venom was and didn't understand it. It led to one of the most cringe storylines of all time, and apparently Sam Raimi made it so because he was so angry that Sony was making him put Venom in the movie. Sony also demanded they put Bryce Dallas Howard in the movie as Gwen Stacy, even though they did almost nothing with that character, and apparently the reason was Sony just wanted to appease Ron Howard. The movie made money, but it got bad reviews, and is why they didn't make a fourth one, and with that, I'm Charles Perrault. Please subscribe to learn something.